Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to show you how to sample in FL Studio 20, which is the newest version of FL Studio so far. And you will get these project files, so if you ever get lost, don't worry about it. If you're new, I just ask for a like in exchange for the project files. That's all I ask for is a like. Come on, y'all, a like? No, I'm just teasing. But if you could like the video and subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I realize a lot of folks forget to turn the notification bell off. And then you end up missing all this dope stuff that I have for you. So you don't want to miss those things. So what I'm going to show you how to do today is sample. And again, if you ever get lost, don't worry about it. I got you with the project files. You don't have to sweat it. Okay, so the first thing is finding samples. So we have an entire producer community with lots of samples, a lot of samples. Just to give you an example of the samples, I'm rapping today. We have guitar stuff in here. For example, we're going to be using one of 7 Foot G's loops. A lot of different styles. Okay, so he played that by hand. You got piano loops from Beat Sculptor. I mean, there's so much stuff in here to sample from. Even Yonatan's so crazy stuff. All right, so we got a lot of stuff. Just go to www.producercommunity.net because that's where you can get it for free. So I grabbed one of the loops from 7 Foot G, and I forget exactly which one I grabbed because there's a lot in here. I grabbed loop 13. Loop 13, here it is, right here, GTR 145. So he labels his stuff. So the 145 BPM means the number up here. So we're gonna match this number with the number up here. So it's 145 BPM. So that's the first step because we want to make sure that this sample actually lines up with the grid. Then you could turn on your metronome to triple check. And you can see it lines up. Okay, so it lines up great. So that's the first thing you need to do is just understand how to line up stuff with the tempo. And that's going to be your biggest helper is stuff labeled like that. So now let's grab some drums. And where's our, keep clicking on the wrong stuff. Here we go. Boom, we got some drums. So this is the clap you hear almost in every top record on the Billboard right now. So you get the same sounds that you're hearing on the Billboard. So you got the same weapons as the top dogs. And for those who don't know, I've trained over 700,000 producers around the world. And some have gone to work with Drake, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, NBA Youngboy. Like anybody on the Billboard, they probably work with. Okay, so now we have the vibe and we have a clap. So at this point, it's just like, do you want to add an 808? Do you want to kick? Let's just do a kick. I wouldn't add an 808 on this one. It's too smooth. Then let's right click, open up a new sound. Now what I like to do now is just left click in the channel rack, hit Control L. It'll send all those sounds to an individual mixer slot. So you don't have to like get lost with stuff. Okay, so the next thing with this type of loop specifically is we want it to feel more upbeat, to sound more up to speed. Another thing you could do, which this is just a side trick for all those who just want to make their sample sound like Drake-ish. You can go to the top left, go to channel settings. You could right click the audio, hit edit in audio editor. You can right click here where it says sample rate. Usually it will say 44.100 hertz. And just type in any number you want. In this case, I typed in 8,000. You could type in 1,000, for example, and just hit the resample button. Yours will be highlighted, so it'll look like this. Hit resample. I leave mine at 16-bit. Hit accept. Now I'm going to keep mine at 8,000 because I already had that going before. Hit accept. And then once it does its work, you send this to the playlist as an audio clip. And this will create what's called the lo-fi effect. I'll exaggerate this one so you can really hear it. It's the 40 Shabib effect, okay? If you guys remember from Drake's stuff. So let's drag this out. So normalize this. It's the underwater effect. And it just sounds really dope. So that's how you can make almost anything sound fire. Go to the send to playlist button And then we could use that as like a B section. So we have the A section or the main kind of stuff, and then we have a separate section over here. So that's how you make loops sound more dynamic instead of just playing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It's just small tricks like that, along with different effects and blah, blah, blah. So again, you will get these project files. So I'll label everything just to keep it organized for you. Let's call this regular sample. And let's call the other one like underwater. Something cool like that. Like Joe Budden says, underwater sample. Okay, so now we just need hi-hats. Let's go to pattern 3. So you see how easy it is. We're going to send this to the same mixer insert for the guitar. Now, since we normalized, we normalized them both. So this should probably have the same volume here. Just doing a little housekeeping here. Okay, so on pattern 3, we're going to go to the patterns tab, drag this in. I like to drag patterns in blank, left click the edge, and just drag it out. If you don't see these vertical lines, go to snap to grid, change this to bar mode, so it's a lot easier to do this. Then go to pattern mode and start drawing in your pattern. So I want to go Okay, let's turn this down a little bit. This is just where the bounce comes from. So remember, bounce is about the in-between space. You can't have bounce without any in-between space. That's the cool part about bounce. So the more bounce, the more in-between space, the more bounce you're gonna have. And then we could let the hi-hats kind of just do that. Just tucked underneath the track. This track really doesn't need a kick, but we're gonna add one. So I'm gonna show you a kick trick rapping today. I'm really on my bar game. Let's go to the mixer. Let's open up Fruity Soft Clipper. Turn up your threshold. You can turn it to the left too, but it gives you a different sound. So I'm just gonna add a blank pattern in here. Pattern 4, left click, drag it in. And now we're gonna add these kick. So I'm gonna leave the kick kind of low volume right now, and then we'll turn it up. So boom, so boom, 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 boom. Actually, I don't want the bouncy kick. So boom. So imagine you're a bass guitar. I usually play along with the bass. So boom, 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 boom. Let's actually draw that in because my brain will forget. Let's add 3x OSC before my brain forgets. Turn off oscillators 2 and oscillator 3 here, bruh. Hit Control L. Okay, let's go. Right click, go to piano roll. So it's boom, boom. It's hard to hear the bass. So we're gonna drag that out. Boom. Now it's gonna be a little obnoxious to hear this tone, so I'm gonna turn it down. Boom. 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 What was my ending? I forgot my ending. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so you could use this bass really. So let's hit Control down twice. And it's gonna be a sub bass now, low frequency bass. The only thing with that is we have to do kind of complex mixing to make all this fit. Because we're stacking it with the kick. Now you can turn up your kick. You can go to the pre-computed effects, turn up boost. If you want like a punchy kick. Now you don't want to overly punch your kicks in R&B because it's not trap beats. You could also use a triangle wave. Let's try a GMS bass. So at this point, you just got to find the bass that you like. I don't want to like obsess about bass. Just trying to find a bass where we can get more of a, let's pull this up. Control up and down, moves the notes up and down an octave. you could use this one. So usually you want to change stuff up. So you don't want to make it sound like it's repetitive. So we're going to click here, make unique, so that it goes pattern 4, then 5. So we're going to do something different about the bass in pattern 5. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control, left click, and highlight the top. Now we're going to go in and just double click, change up the ending. Then I'm going to go dun dun. Okay, so just that small little change up will make it so that the ear doesn't start predicting it, because once the ear can predict things, it gets kind of bored. We love when things change up. It creates discovery. Okay, so you can go through the basses. You maybe don't like that bass, swap it out. Pretty cool bass. Let's just keep going through the bass presets. This one has like an envelope to it. Oh, it also has a fifth. Let's pull this down. What is that? This has a weird click to it, and I think it does it have 2 clicks? I'm trying to figure out where the other click is coming from. So we're gonna skip that one. Long story short, skip that one. So again, I don't want to spend 2 decades on finding the bass sound that you like. The other trick is to turn up your resonance. Get that like pony sound. So I'm going to add a Fruity Soft Clipper to the master just so we don't go into the red. So here's a trick for your bass. This is like one of the, it's not mandatory. You can open up Gross Beat, go to the time zone, which is this tan zone down here, and just give it, just right click and go to single curve and create these movements. So the bass doesn't just play all the way through. It's going to like pump. Or you could just do one. Let's do one single pump. And that has more of like an R&B tone to it. Again, I could sit here literally all day to sound design. I don't want to bore you to death. I'll let you. Another thing about R&B, you want to have a reverb. So let's set up track 10 to be a reverb. We're going to pull up Fruity Reverb 2, turn the wet level up to 100%, turn the dry level down, and just mess with the features here. You don't have to copy these exactly, but you can do that. So now let's send stuff to the reverb. So click on your instrument you want to send to the reverb, left click the up arrow at the bottom. You can do things like the clap. don't want the kick to punch too hard. Okay, so now you have a track. It's pretty much that simple. Now, you don't have to bring in the bass all the way through. So what you could do is just highlight this section, hit Control G to group all this stuff. Highlight this section, hit Control G to group that stuff. Just double click in the first half, and maybe you don't want the bass in the first half. Or you don't want the kicks. Maybe you don't want both kicks or the bass. I'm just gonna do a little house keeping here. Just cut out the low end of the guitar. So here's a little trick. One last trick I'll show you because I don't want to go overboard with every little music production trick. Ran out of breath. Change your snap to grid to a beat mode and then left click and just drag it out for the last 2 beats. And just leave a gap. I told you gaps are where movement's created. Okay, so now you have the core bare bones for a nice R&B sample track. Now I'm gonna add a plugin that's not in what is it called? FL. Actually, let's use some FL stuff so I can kind of keep it to where everybody could use it. Let's use a limiter on this bass so it doesn't get too out of hand. This is why I said I don't want to get too deep into mixing because then I'll spend another hour on mixing alone. But we want to limit this bass. See if I don't. Let's let the bass ride instead of giving it that envelope. All right, so you get these project files for free. Just go to www.producercommunity.net and the project files will be under the project file zone over there. So thank you for watching today. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com.